Welcome to the Mills Knows Bills podcast. My name is Mills Bender. I'm the founder and CEO of Mills Knows Bills, where we help you, variable income earners, master your money in 90 days. The point of this podcast is to help you make the most of your fluctuating income so you can stop living paycheck to paycheck, pay off your debt twice as fast, and get on track toward reaching both your personal and professional financial goals. Now, as I continue to grow my team here at MKB, you may have some guest hosts from time to time. However, our goal does not change. Whether we're bringing in a guest speaker, having an in-depth conversation about our personal finances, or talking about a topic that is of interest to you, our goal is to help you master your money.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mills Knows Bills podcast, where we answer your burning financial questions. I'm your host, as well as founder and CEO, Mills Bender. And with us today, we have a very lovely and special guest, one of my favorite people in the whole world. Christine is joining us. Christine and I have known each other for, oh my word, I think over 2 years at this point, and we formed a really great business relationship, but also friendship. So it's an honor to have her on the show. Christine, please take a moment, introduce yourself, and then we'll get into your question.
Great. Well, Mills, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. I had no idea that we could just come with burning questions, and I have so many. As you know, but as everybody else probably doesn't, I am the owner and founder of Chapman Education, and I work to assist families and students in particular through the very stressful and expensive college search and application and attendance reality. But I also work with students and families who are looking at private school admissions. And then I will work with students through graduate school admissions and so on. So I am always sort of in a space where I'm talking families through college decisions. And as you may or may not know, this year in 2024, we reached a threshold and crossed a threshold where tuition at some of the most expensive undergraduate institutions here in the United States has now crossed over to $100,000 a year. And I am, for the first time after doing this work for 30 plus years, a mother going through the process with her own daughter. And that sort of adds a whole new layer of thought, reflection, because I am not necessarily like many of my clients who might, well, and I don't know if there's anybody, even my clients, who wouldn't blink at $400,000 by the time college is done for one child in today's climate. That is, if there's no rise in the cost of tuition over the next 4 years. So, yeah, that's why I'm here, because I have a burning question as a single mom. And yes, and as a business owner and as an advisor to students who are looking at the college process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we talked about your question briefly, but why don't you share it with the audience? What is your burning financial question today as we just casually drop $400,000?
Yes, my burning financial question, because this year, for the first time, I've really sort of come into personal contact with the system is broken. Something's got to give, but nothing's going to give, because we've asked this question years since tuition was $25,000 a year. As someone who has finances at the forefront of her mind, in her work with clients, in her work to educate the populace, what advice do you give to moms like me who are literally trying to figure out how we're going to fund tuition in the next years and the kinds of adjustments that I might have to make? What advice would you give to parents, to students, as they think about mitigating the cost of tuition just for 4 years, leaving them potentially with debt for a lifetime? That is my burning financial question. What is the financial?
This is a very it's a very loaded question in the best kind of way. So I will talk as though I am talking to my intern, who we just had a very similar conversation a few months ago about this. So the first thing I would identify is college right for the child / student? Are they wanting to pursue a career that requires a degree? And if they do, that's great. But if they don't, I feel like there's this societal pressure for everybody to go through that rite of passage, and it might not always be the best fit for the student. And there are so many other options out there if it is not the best fit for them. So maybe starting their career, starting a business, going to college, or maybe going to a vocational / trade school. Those are just 4 options that they can look at first and foremost. If college is the right choice for them, then we get to narrow that down into a few other options. Does it make sense for them to stay home and get their AA at a community college first? Maybe save a little bit of money there, since really the first 2 years of your college education is the same wherever you go. If they did not take advantage of any dual enrollment or AP classes, anything like that, it's a good way to lower your cost, especially when then you are going from another higher level institution to another higher level institution, rather than a high school to a higher level institution. It sets you apart a little differently, and you can speak to that more, I'm sure. And then once they've figured out where they want to go, of course, there's so many different ways to afford your college experience. The first thing I would say is pick a university that is going to be it's going to give you an investment rather than a cost. What do I mean by that? Choose a university where the degree you're going to be getting is going to more than cover the cost of your education. I have seen people go to various universities where the degree that they're getting, that salary at the end of it, is not going to justify the cost of that tuition. And that's a very hard pill to swallow. And it's not because you don't value that degree as a society. It's just more of, let's make sure that if I'm only going to be earning $50,000 a year, that it's not costing me $400,000 to get that degree. That's not a good return on your investment, right? When it comes to affording college outside of picking the university, take advantage of scholarships and grants. I got the same scholarship 2 semesters in a row because I was the only person out of a campus of 60,000 students who applied for it both semesters in a row.
Wow. That's so true. And people don't know there are millions and millions of dollars in scholarship money that goes completely uncollected because kids don't apply. No, you're absolutely right.
They just don't apply.
Yeah.
And Christine, full disclosure, I used the same exact application and essay. I didn't even try the second time around. I just submitted it.
Yeah.
I got it. And although it wasn't a ton of money, it was enough to cover all of my books for the semester. That's awesome, right? And so is it extra work? Yes. And do students want to put forth additional effort once they've just finished some of the most grueling last couple years of their lives? Sometimes no. But if you're able to position yourself to maybe just make some adjustments and apply to multiple scholarships and grants with that same baseline of information, that essay, that resume, whatever it may be, and get as much money as possible simply because you're one of a few who applied, it's a great way to cover the cost of tuition. And finally, if you're in a position where you need to leverage student loans, there's a common misconception that just because it's offered to you, you have to accept it. If you know that you only need $10,000 a semester, but they offer you $15,000, just accept the 10. You don't need to accept the full gambit. And when you do accept those student loans, make sure you're using it for what it's meant for, your education. I had friends in college who got $30,000 in student loans in one semester and used it to buy a Range Rover, down payment on a Range Rover. And it's sad because they're just paying for these things over and over and over, and they're not positioning their future selves for financial success. And so if you're a student or a parent who has a child about to start college, these are some very important questions that you get to start navigating now. And if your child is not ready to go to college anytime soon, see if there's an opportunity for you to start putting money aside in a 529 plan. So that way you can set them up for success and reap the tax benefits yourself as well. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but there's so many different facets that we get to unfold with that.
Oh, I love it. I feel like there's a webinar brewing.
There is
Mills.
a webinar brewing, I'm sure.
Yes, there is.
Step 1, step 5.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So now that we explained that, and people generally know a little bit about what you do, why don't you explain further about how you help your students, and then, of course, the best way for somebody to reach out to you if they're looking for your services.
Thank you so much. My work, it begins with the evaluation and goal setting of a family. Certainly we will meet together and we will sort of unpack a student's profile. I will certainly offer some general sort of timeline type information, must-dos, and then I guide students through every single aspect of the process. And I usually say to families, use me as you need me. So if that means helping with list creation, identifying appropriate schools, helping students sort of strategize around which schools would be reach schools, mid-range schools, and safer schools, for lack of a better term, setting up the application, understanding how it needs to be navigated, brainstorming from conception to finalizing the essay. And I work with a student as that student's guide, but also as that person who will keep a student honest and ask questions and poke and prod so that essay is so authentically theirs through supplementary essays and interview prep and practice. And finally, often in helping determine, once all of these packages come back, which school might be most appropriate for the student. Yeah. Even if it isn't their first choice. My daughter ended up committing to a school that is her potential safety, or she categorized as a safety, and is on wait lists at some of these uber competitive schools. But the reality for us is she received $180,000 in merit money. Yeah. And how do you say no to the potential of literally being debt free, because we had a little bit of money saved in a 529. But I will tell you, it's not easy, whether it's as a practitioner or it's as a parent, because it's such an emotional thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she made the right decision. I'm so excited for her. That's one thing that my husband and I were talking about just the other day. I saw somebody post on Facebook how they hit $0 net worth for the first time. And they are about 10 years older than us, I think. And I'm not comparing in any negative way. I think it's we're blessed in the fact that we both graduated from college without any student loan debt. Our parents had positioned us in a way where neither of us had any student loans. And as a result, we were able to get started on some other areas of financial growth in our lives earlier than most of our peers. And as a result, we have the net worth we do today. We're able to carry forward that blessing to our kids and help position them to be, having no student loans, but also making them millionaires by the time that they're ready to retire. And so this stepping stone, the fact that your daughter decided to accept a quote unquote safety school, which ended up giving her $180,000, allowing her to graduate debt-free, is going to have long-lasting impacts in her finances. And it's going to completely change her life, especially the stress that she will not have to undergo in comparison to a lot of her peers. And I think she made a very wise decision.
Thank you.
Of course. I'm so happy for her.
Much.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. And before I let you go, how can somebody reach out to you if they want to learn more about your services?
Thank you so much. www.chapmaneducation.org. And we're on Instagram at Chapman Education.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. I will talk with you soon.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Goodbye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
If you stuck around long enough to get to this part of the podcast, I just want to say thank you. We really appreciate the fact that you take the time to listen to the content in its entirety, because we do pour our hearts and soul into every single piece of content we let out. So thank you for being here. I want to let you know that if you're in a space where you're trying to level up your finances, you can always snag some free resources on our YouTube channel, Instagram. You're always welcome to email us at info@millsknowsbills.com. And if you're interested in taking part of any of our coaching programs or courses, be sure to mention our podcast to get a special discount, okay? We want to make sure that you are making the most of your financial investment. Again, I am your host, Mills Bender, founder and CEO of Mills Knows Bills. Thank you so much for listening. And just because I gotta, here's a quick little disclaimer. I want to remind you that this podcast is strictly discussion, okay? It's general, it's educational in nature. We don't provide any specific tax, investment, legal, or financial advice on this podcast with respect to any particular individual, okay? So if you're in a situation where you need specific help, please consult your own advisor regarding your unique situation, because it's not a one-size-fits-all.